Welcome back to the Voice of Truth. Jim Moore, Jeffrey Arnold, Democrat, Republicans. Democrats.
Hello.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the Monday show. I'm going to jump right in here because all these things kind of go together. But, you know, the question I had was, why do Americans hate the Iranians? Why do the Iranians hate the Americans? I'm going to give you the full scoop right here. Brief history, I started it, but we always get sidetracked. In the 1950s, and I'm going to go back a little before that here later on, Iran was a democracy, and they democratically elected Mohammad Mossadegh. He became the prime minister in 1951, and he was key in nationalizing the British-controlled oil fields. The Brits controlled all the oil in Iran. He wanted to take it out of the Brits' hands and let the Iranian government control the oil to help the Iranian people. Okay? As a result,
They wanted to control their own oil?
they wanted to control. How dare they?
Their own natural resources?
Yeah, how dare they?
How about that?
You know, we always get off on a sidetrack. Now, let me just sidetrack this. Let me just sidetrack this. Jeff and I live in Southwest Virginia. Right down the road from us is Buchanan County. How many billions of dollars of coal and natural gas comes out of them hollers? And Buchanan County is one of the poorest cotton-picking counties in Virginia.
I know it for a fact.
And McDowell County, right across the border, is the one of the top 10 povertiest.
Let me tell you what I know about that. All right? They will sell you a piece of land in McDowell County to build a house on. All right? But they will retain the mineral rights that's right under you.
Mm-hmm.
So they can come in after your house is built and just mine the coal right out from under you, and it's theirs. Or the natural gas or whatever it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've heard of them sinking people's wells and everything else. Can't do a thing about it.
Can't do a thing about it. That's empire. We take what we want.
That's right.
Now, here these Iranians, through Mohammad Mossadegh, is wanting to keep the oil for themselves, you know, to help their country. So the Brits enlisted the U.S. to get rid of Mohammad Mossadegh. Great Britain did. And in 1953, you can look all this up, the CIA and MI6, they backed a coup ousting Mossadegh, restoring Iranian's monarch, which we know as the Shah. I forget what his name was, the Shah. Okay, so this guy takes power in 1953. The Shah became unpopular, one, for his lavish spending, and two, he tortured people. Anybody that he didn't like, he brutally tortured. Brutally tortured. I mean, it was ugly. Okay? Protesters, freethinkers, anybody that said anything against them. Now remember, who put him in? The CIA and MI6.
Yeah, the change of regime.
And all because of the oil.
Uh-huh.
So that all changed in 1979. Like I said, I'm going forward, then I'm going to back up. Because the Islamic Revolution ushered in change in 1979, they caused the Shah to flee, and this high-ranking religious figure was brought in called the Ayatollah. Remember the Ayatollah?
Oh, yeah.
He returned from exile and he became the supreme ruler in Iran. Now later that year, the Iranian students stormed the embassy in Tehran, and they took 90 people hostage. 66 of them were Americans. We lived through all this, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Because 1979, Jimmy Carter was president. One of the promises was if you get Ronald Reagan elected, on the day he swore in, they was put on the helicopter.
Political cartoons were going crazy with that. Right?
Yeah.
They were showing Ronald Reagan as being John Wayne and Jimmy Carter being a little wimp.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the day he was inaugurated, they were gone.
They were gone. And I can remember, guys, I was in the Marine Corps. I worked on helicopters. And Jimmy Carter had sent a rescue mission to rescue the hostages.
Yeah,
that was a
terrible.
debacle.
Yeah.
And they left them helicopters. They abandoned them over there. And that was my squadron, HMH 461. There was a plaque on the wall there from Jimmy Carter. But anyway, The damage was done. Okay, U.S. designated Iran because of this as a state sponsor of terrorism. And in the 80s, check this out, Iran and Iraq went to war. Well, who do we back? We backed Iraq. Who did they have as a leader? Saddam Hussein.
Right.
Okay, and in 1988, the U.S. shot down an Iranian passenger plane over Iranian territorial waters when they identified it as a fighter jet. All 290 people are killed on that plane.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Now, when Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, the U.S. and Iran became suddenly, they shared Saddam Hussein as a common enemy. So sanctions are against Iran greatly increased under the Clinton era. Okay, I'm just giving you some highlights here. And in 2002, and I'd love to give you guys some history on this, a year before the Iraqi war, President Bush included Iran in what he called the axis of evil. Remember when he gave that speech? Mm-hmm. And you know, it's amazing to me that I read the papers on that, and they had laid out how they were going to sell that war, how they needed to support, how the UN was against it, and how they basically said, heck with the UN, we're going to invade anyway.
And you know what's amazing about that whole situation is, I mean, if hindsight was 20/20, we could see all these things as they're happening, right? But as soon as Ronald Reagan, now I'm a big Ronald Reagan guy, I like the guy, but as soon as he was inaugurated, they let the hostages go, and then years later, suddenly they come up with this Iran-Contra thing, right? Well, Oliver North was testifying, and he, for some reason, he doesn't remember any giving guns to anybody to get any hostages back. Like, we don't deal with terrorists, right? We don't make deals with them. But suddenly he couldn't think of, there was somebody giving weapons to these people to get those people back, to get those Americans back. Mm-hmm. So were we giving weapons to Iran? Well, I don't recollect. Yeah. I don't recollect it. He didn't recollect it either. Of course, Oliver North is just a patsy, I know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A scapegoat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, all these things are amazing to me after the fact, of course.
Yeah. So, you know, in 2002, Bush is, you know, he calls them the axis of evil, saying they're going to get nuclear weapons. It's the same thing we went to Iraq for. Mm-hmm. He called them both axis of evil, harboring all those terrorists, which led to years of violence, led to a fractured state, a power vacuum, which led to the rise of ISIS. Okay, so that's what happened. And this terror group became a common enemy between Iran and the U.S. So both of them are fighting against ISIS. Now, Iranian-backed militias, U.S. troops, both battle ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Okay? And in 2015, hopes for a thaw in this relationship between Iran and U.S. grew. The two countries, alongside European nations, they signed a nuclear deal that granted limited sanction relief to Iran in exchange for limits in nuclear activity. But then, you always got a but then, Trump pulled out of the nuclear agreement, and ISIS forces were pushed back in Iraq and Syria. Tensions started rising again. So here we go. And then, in 2020, we killed the guy, Soleimani. Mm-hmm. And that was a dramatic escalation in this bad blood, because he was, they claimed Soleimani was undermining security. But here's a question, and I'm going to talk about this guy a minute. Does the U.S. really care about democracy and good governance in the Middle East? If they did, they wouldn't have started this in 1951, because they had a democracy, Mohammad Mossadegh, a democratically elected government. They was going to
that just wanted to keep their country's natural resources to themselves.
Yeah, and wanted to sell it on the open market.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to that here in a minute. But the America said, no, we want to put the Shah in, the monarch, who we let torture thousands of people for years and years and turn their back against it. Why? Because we're getting the oil. And number two, he would do what we told him to do.
Right.
So
that's right. I mean, what it boils down to a lot of time, more times than not, is the root of evil is money. Now, the love of money. Now, in this oil, I mean, that's what oil is. That's all it is money.
yeah.
You know, anytime that's why what's going on in Palestine is going on. That's why when they went into Kuwait, oh, you're going to cut off our oil? No, we can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's over and over. Look, when I want to say something right here, and you know, folks will probably label us as pinko commies, whatever. But look, all right, you got Ukraine right here, a country on the border of Russia. You got Ukraine making a little bit of political noise about joining the UN. All right, this guy over there, Putin, which is on a border with Ukraine, is seeing Ukraine joining the UN and seeing the border lined with nuclear weapons. All right? Now, people wonder, what's Putin doing? He's just a nut, right? He just wants to kill Ukrainians. Look, man, when you're getting all this bunch together, Poland, Ukraine, England, us.
What if the Russians put nukes in Canada and Mexico?
Exactly. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So just think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Just think about how it looks from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in violence, period.
Yeah,
I don't think a Christian should. We don't believe in killing, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean, look at both sides of things.
Yeah.
Don't just drink the Kool-Aid and think, oh, we do nothing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
And that's what's going on.
Now, Soleimani, he was loved in his country and hated, and yes, he was involved in a lot of bloody wars. So have many presidents. Probably the most notorious is Mr. Bush, because that Iraqi war was totally against everything. But they wanted to show the world America's power. You can go look it up. They felt like, oh my God, we got to look strong. Who can we pick on? It happened to be Saddam Hussein. The UN said they don't have anything. You know, I just found this out. They inspected Iraq over 900 times. Never found nothing.
And I mean,
told America no.
That National Council came back and gave that report over and over.
And Colin Powell, before he died, he said he regretted doing that because he knew it was a lie. Worst mistake he ever made. Knew it was a lie. And I'll tell you what, one of the guys that was involved in this Soleimani thing, and I'm watching all this stuff take place a few years ago, was Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State for Trump. He's up there talking about what a bad guy, and you know this is 2020, that was election year. Okay, Pompeo wasn't thinking about running against Trump, but he was thinking about 2024, set himself up, and you know what great way to come to the American people with, you know, they used to talk about Vietnam guys, you know, they might have collected ears or something, but you know, these presidents and secretaries of state, Hillary Clinton, Mogadishu, Benghazi, you know, they got a lot of blood on their hands, and they like to come to the American people with a lot of blood on their hands. Look who we killed. And Pompeo stood up there and gave these big speeches about Soleimani. Now, I don't know the guy. I'm just a little poor guy here from Tazewell County. But then you watch 3 years later, who's on the circuit running for president? Mike Pompeo. Now, he gets squashed, and he has to back out. But, you know, they're standing shoulder to shoulder. But now, who's going to take the credit for the kill? You know, because we want the trophies, and you know, American people are kind of looking around like, oh man, we want our warriors.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know, in
We
the
want
Old
our
Testament, David comes out there and he cuts the head off of the giant, and he stands there. Look here, Israel, and we kind of think, well, that's the way it is. We got to go have the heads of these enemies. We can come to the American people and say, look. Now, I'm going to tell you who the enemy is, because I'm not going to let you figure that out on your own. I'm going to tell you who the enemy is. And then when I cut the enemy's head off, I can come back and I can be praised. This is exactly what empire does. Okay? But, you know, most of these wars that Soleimani fought in were start and fueled by the Americans. Okay? And upon his death, it's hard to believe the entire nation mourned. I mean, it was amazing. It was bigger than John F. Kennedy's funeral. I mean, this thing was huge. Of course, none of that's publicized over here in America. But let me go back a little bit to 1901, to where this guy, William Knox d'Arcy, first negotiated an oil concession with the Shah of what was then called Persia in exchange to prospect across Iran for the next 60 years. Now, the Shah received 20,000 pounds, in other words, $2 million, plus 16% of all future profits of that oil. Now, this oil was called Anglo-Persian Oil Company, which later changed its name to British Petroleum, BP. Okay? So all BP oil was coming out of Iran. What do you think people think about that? No. But the refinery in Iran, Abadan, in South Iran, would be the single largest in the world because it was so rich with oil. Global energy giant. The people of Iran, guess what they got out of the deal?
Zero, probably.
Nothing. Nothing. So the Shah got everything. Well, you know, he got paid by the Brits, and then boom, and the people lived in squalor. Okay? Which led to the rise of a democratic leader in Mohammad Mossadegh to take over power in 1951. The Brits, when he took over power and wanted to nationalize the oil, the Brits threatened legal action against any country who bought Iranian oil.
That's amazing.
Isn't it amazing how you can control the market?
Oh, yeah.
So they threatened them. And so the economy of Iran in this short bit come to a stop because now they can't sell their oil.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So in 1953, Winston Churchill persuaded a newly elected president called Dwight D. Eisenhower that Mohammad Mossadegh had to go. That's what these guys are, all warmongers, man. They agreed to remove him through an operation called Operation Ajax. And the coup was set up by CIA and MI6, and the Shah was put into power. Mossadegh was out of power. He was put in prison, 3 years in solitary confinement. And then they put him in his home, confined him to his home, and when he died, they didn't even let him have a public funeral. They buried him in his living room in 1967.
Wow.
Yeah. So
somebody told me one time, and I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory or what, but somebody said that an American president said this, and may have been in private, of course, but he said, if the American people knew what is going on, they would hang us all.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it.
I mean, can you imagine? Because they do try to sell us.
Oh yeah.
Like this guy from Iran in 51.
Yeah.
They'll sell us that he's a bad guy.
Oh yeah.
Just like they're trying to sell us now.
Well, you
that
know,
Hamas is thick in Palestine, and we need to eliminate them.
Well, you know, and listen, we're not condoning Hamas and their terrorist acts either. Not condoning that. What I'm trying to get you to see here is...
But that's how they sell it to us, right? I mean,
how they sell it to us, but when you oppress, I saw this today. You know who wanted Hamas to be in power in Palestine because the Palestinians had an election and the Hamas won. And you know who wanted Hamas to win? I don't know. I don't know. I'll just say. But who was really cheering Hamas on was Benjamin Netanyahu.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. He really wanted Hamas to win because he knew Hamas was an Iranian-backed terrorist group. And Iranians are doing what? Hating Americans. Why? Because Americans meddled when they finally got a democracy there and took over and was going to bring their country out of squalor, selling oil. They went along with the Brits and overthrew all of that stuff, and for the next 60 years kept them under the terrorist of the Shah, and their own people were being brutally. So now maybe you understand why the Iranians say, and when the Ayatollah come in, now he comes in with this Islamic view of hatred towards Americans. So they teach their children about what Americans have done to them. So now we can kind of see why these people do exactly what they do. And you know what? We're guilty.
Oh yeah. I mean, how would you react if you was like, American people have starved your children all their life, and it's generational. That's what they do. The Americans, if they don't get what they want, they sanction. They cut you off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They keep cutting you off food. You know, this country has been blessed to grow about anything.
Oh yeah.
And plenty of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can feed a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And that's our saber that we rattle sometimes. Yeah. We cut off the food.
Yeah, yeah. All of this stuff, and we wonder why they hate. But Netanyahu wanted Hamas in there because he knew what they would do, and that way, because they hated those people and what they're going on, because you got the West Bank over here, and then the Gaza Strip over here. So what they're doing is the West Bank was supposed to be for the Palestinians, but guess who was living there? More and more and more and more and more. The Israelis are moving there, taking over this land, so that there will be no chance ever of a two-state system going on there. And at the same time, knowing the radicalisms of the Hamas, so now that gives them free right to go in there and just wipe them out. So they wanted this. And the American people just are too blind to see it. You know, just have no idea of what is going on here.
That's right.
So, and it's really, really sad. And then you hear, oh, we got to support Israel. At whatever cost, we got to support Israel. And, you know, we'll go through this scripture some and show you that even when Jesus was there, I was reading a verse earlier, before we ever came on the air, Jesus said, "You're of your father the devil." Remember he said that in John chapter 8. You go about to kill me. If you were of your father Abraham, you would do the deeds of Abraham. But you're of your father the devil. And I just thought, man, what a statement. How was that statement received? It's basically received the same thing as it is now. And you know that word, diablos, it means the accuser. You're of your father, the accuser. So what is going on is just accusing. And never the one thing that is led up in that Jesus said and that Paul preached over and over and over in his epistles, and even Peter and these others go on about forgiveness.
Oh yeah.
Father, forgive them. They know not what to do. And Paul, I mean, he just goes on to forgive. And, you know, guys, that's both sides. That's both sides. Somebody has to beat their swords into plowshares.
Yeah, I thought, how amazing, how amazing, and what a statement it would make if violence wasn't met with violence.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of impact? I mean, somebody's got to stop.
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. But see, every time you might mention that, well, we can't stop because they'll just take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
The fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know that.
Rule through power. How was it you said that? Peace through power.
Yeah.
Peace
Peace
through
through
power.
strength.
Peace through strength.
Yeah.
And that's the way it kind of comes out, and that's the way it always is, because we can't seem to be, because you know, the cross is really the greatest display of power, but yet it's perceived as the greatest display of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a stumbling stone
That's right.
and a rock of offense. We cannot have that. I mean, we got, and trust me, empire will always feed you with enemies.
What if Joe Biden, which he done, what if he done something today to precipitate peace, like stop the weapons flow to Israel, which is exactly what he done today, and he is getting crucified in the media.
Yeah.
This guy, they're saying, well, he's a lunatic. What is he doing? Stopping the supply.
Yeah.
I mean, and that, see, what if that is a wonderful thing? Well, we don't see it that way. I
Right.
mean, nobody sees it that way. They see it, it's weak. You're showing weakness here,
Yeah.
right? And maybe Joe Biden done it for the wrong reasons. Maybe he done it for political reasons. I don't know. I don't know why he stopped this. Didn't he stop the flow of weapons?
If they invaded Rafah.
If they invaded Rafah, he stopped the flow of weapons. So, but, I mean, it doesn't even seem right in our way of thinking for a leader to do something peaceful, does it?
No. I mean, you know, Iran's got the biggest thing of oil in the whole world. We got to have it. And we got to be in control of it. We got to, you know what I mean? We got to protect our comfort. We can't have anybody else having what we have.
Well, I mean, it's the same old story. I want to rule the world.
Yeah, that song, Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Uh-huh. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, everybody wants to rule the world. Well, that's what you end up with. And that's the empire system. That's why another head just grows back. And who can make war with the beast? But, again, the book of Revelation, Jesus, the first begotten of the dead, the ruler of the kings of the earth. And the victory's already won, but they want to keep you thinking the victory ain't won.
And this is how Revelation, this is how John is showing us in Revelation how this system is put together, how it works, and how we're caught up in it. So the images that David Jeremiah and John Hagee, you know, where they're going with that is not right at all. I mean, it's total malarkey. John is showing us a picture 3 different times
Yeah.
of how empire works. I mean, we covered it on not long ago how this number 666 is the number of a man, which was Nero. I mean, that he was the head of empire,
Yeah.
the head of the serpent, you might say, or the beast. And that if you see Revelation in that light, then you'll understand why it's relevant for today. Why it's relevant because empire is still here, and we're still dealing with it.
Still dealing with it, yeah. And, it, you know, until...
And we're the ones not the victims of it necessarily, but we're the ones comfortable under the wings of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is just as bad as the victims. Because you're both in the dark.
Yeah, you turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus would tell them that, all you tithe, mint, and rue, and coming and all that other stuff, and you neglect the weightier matters of the law, you know, justice, you know, and we do it just like, well, our view of justice is, well, empire will tell you what view of justice is. We got to go kill all them people. We don't want them people having anything that we would control. Paul would make the statement, as you quoted earlier, the love of money, the root of all evil, and what makes empire go.
Oh yeah, there it is. Money.
Yeah, that's what makes empire go. The economics. And guys, there is economics in the kingdom of God. Paul would say, work with your own hands.
That which is good and pleasing unto the Lord, that you may have
To give.
To give. Think about that.
To those who have not.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, tune in Friday. We'll continue this conversation. Until
bless.
then, Lord bless. Don and Jeff and myself, we really want to thank you guys for tuning in. You don't know what it means to us to have you guys listening. The one thing that you could do to help us out is hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment. Ask questions in the comments if you want. I am going to leave a link. I'll post it down below for our church services on Wednesday and Sundays. I put those on a different YouTube channel. So I will share that with you guys, give you the link so you can go see what time. We would love to have you come and join us. And, we just love putting out this voice of truth, having our discussions. What you see is what you get. We try to put them out every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 9 a.m. I will tell you I'm a full-time pastor, but I also work full-time. Jeff works full-time, so it's hard for us to do those things all the time. But again, we're so thankful you tune in. Thank you for all the subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. You can hit the notification button. You'll know when they're coming out. And guys, again, we are so thankful that you're tuning in. Thank you so much. We will keep bringing this stuff to you. And we will see you again. Lord bless.